Today we're going to talk about Brazil, and it is time for everyone's favorite, where we go around the room and introduce ourselves. You already know who I am, so next up on my screen would be Gabrielle. And you're muted, don't forget that part.
Sorry. Hello, this is Gabriel Barbara from Santos. I'm the quality control guy here in Brazil. So every salmon that leaves our port in Santos pass through our hands here in the quality room. So nice to see you all.
Thank you so much for joining us. All right, up next, Nicholas.
Good morning and good afternoon to everybody. I'm Nicolas Rueda. I have been in this for the last 4.5 years, and I have been with Volcafe for 10 years. And I have the pleasure to work with my Brazilian colleagues in here. I'm the only one non-Brazilian here, and as well with my US colleagues. So pleasure to meet you all, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. I was gonna say the wrong name because Marcelo, I got confused. So Marcelo, you're up next.
No worries, all good. Hello everybody. So my name is Marcelo and I'm in charge of specialty coffee sustainability projects, and I'm part of the trading team. And I work for Volcafe for 12 years now.
Wow. Thank you for joining us. All right, Gustavo.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us to try to show a bit of everything that we are trying to put together to offer you from our small country around here at the south. So I'm being in Volcafe officially for the past 10 years and non-officially for the past 14 years, and responsible for the sustainability field work on all this time.
Wow, thank you for joining us. All right, Rob.
Hi, Rob Solkow, Digital Marketing Manager at Genuine Origin. Nice to be here. Nice to see my colleagues from Brazil. Welcome.
Thank you, Rob. If you ever hit up the social media, you're gonna be chatting with Rob. He's a helpful guy. And last but certainly not least, my East Coast counterpart, Jay.
How you doing? Jay Vernolikin, Genuine Origins East Coast Sales Manager, and I'm based in New Jersey.
Awesome. Time to do a little bit of housekeeping before we roll into our presentation. As always, thank you so much to both our panel and all of you for joining us. It takes a lot of coordination to make this happen, and we love getting to bring people together over coffee. You're gonna have a couple polls pop up. The first one is gonna be a little bit out, but please make sure you stick around for those. If you've missed any of these webinars, we have done one for Volcafe Way, one for Guatemala, Costa Rica, Peru, and Honduras. Those are all posted on the Genuine Origin YouTube if you want to check out the video. They're also on SoundCloud if you'd prefer an audio format. So if you're curious about any of those, I highly recommend you check them out. Also, make sure you're signed up for the email newsletters so you know about stuff like this and my off-the-wall Instagram cuppings that pop up every now and again. Probably going to do something next week, so stay tuned. Ton of new coffees coming in. We're expecting our first coffees from the DR Congo and from Mexico in the coming weeks. Peru has just landed and another one's on the way. So we're working on more things for fall arrival. So bug Jay and Cindy and me if you have questions. And I think on that note, I'm going to hand it over to the Brazil team to get started.
All right, so I hope you can all hear me okay. So this is going to be a little bit of Spanglish. But I'll do my best. So for a Colombian, born in Colombia, to be here talking to you about Brazil, it's quite a responsibility, but I can tell you, 4 years that I have been here have been enough for me to really get in love with this beautiful country and the beautiful people. And also to realize that despite all of the twisted images that a country like this has, this is a very diverse country, not only in terms of cultures and geographies, but also in terms of the quality of the coffees. So my colleagues Marcelo, Gustavo, and Gabriel are going to take you to that. I'm going to set the scene with some basics just to get our feet on the ground. So the capital, Brasilia, a lot of people think it's either Sao Paolo or something else. So it's a big country, is almost as big as the US, 8,500 square meters in terms of millions of square meters. So it's really amazing because when you look at some of the biggest producing states of Brazil, Minas Gerais being one of those, it's like talking about the size of France, or even if you talk about Bahia, it's like talking about Spain. So it's a huge country. 210 great people, you know, beautiful population live here. The land of samba, the land of hard work, and 85% of that population is living in the cities. 27 states and a huge amount of municipalities. You cannot imagine how is doing business in Brazil when you understand that you have the country tax, the federal tax, and the state tax, and that you know, to transfer coffee from one state to the other one, you have to have a clear understanding of what the law is and what the tax is. It's really an amazing complex, but this is what makes it interesting. 1.8 trillion. It sounds like a lot of money in terms of a GDP of Brazil as a country. But if you put it in perspective, you know, recently, about a couple of days ago, we just heard that a company that we all know, Apple, just had reached a market capital of about 2 trillion. So it's amazing to see how a big country like Brazil has a little bit less than the market capitalization of a company like Apple. 2% interest rate. This is the lowest we have seen in financial history of Brazil. Also combining with some of the lowest inflation rates. Unemployment, which, you know, to be fair, in developing countries or countries in the road to development, you have to really take into consideration both the official and unofficial unemployment. But anyhow, this is the statistic. We are in the middle of a pandemic, and we have had many days of many of us working in the office, at home, without going to the office. It's really amazing that the country is still thriving and thrilling despite all the restrictions we have gone through. So some of the coffee facts, just to set the scene. You know, coming from Colombia, the land of Arabicas, and particularly of washed Arabicas, and putting your senses in Brazil, realizing how rich, how diverse, how many different qualities, how many different varieties. Discovering Conilon for the first time ever, understanding that 11.1% of the total exports of Brazil are Conilons, and the remaining is Arabica of many varieties, a record amount of shipments. I wouldn't like to even think for a second what would be about the coffee world without Brazil right now, with a record export of 40 million bags. Just to give you a little bit of sense of benchmark, this is about a third of the total coffee exports in the world. So if it wouldn't be because of Brazil, definitely the price environment will be something completely different. This is a country that exports to a lot of destinations, 125. It is fair to say that in an average cup of coffee of the world, at least 1/3 is Brazilian. So the percentage of the total international price that goes to the farmers on average is about 81%. So it's a very competitive environment and a very transparent environment. Competition is very fierce. 17% of the total exports of the country are of sustainable or responsible sourcing programs. These are official statistics from Secafe, which is the organization that puts all the exporters together in Brazil. And coffee represents about $5.1 billion in terms of export revenue, which is about 5% of the total export bill of the country. So it is not as big as it used to be about 30 years ago, but it is extremely important for the total world. So, you know, it's really amazing to know that a country that produces now about 60 to 70 million bags has 5.1 billion of revenue. And a country, for example, like Colombia, just to give you a bit of perspective, that exports about 13 million bags, has a little bit less, like 2.8 billion. So size is not all, it's just about diversity and what we like. So some facts and figures about our company. We exported last season about 1 million bags. You know, Brazil is a country that has an internal consumption which is extremely high. It's almost similar to the consumption that you can register in the US, a little bit about 20 million bags. So we just not export only, we also provide the consumers inside of Brazil with some of their own coffees produced in their own country. And we have a very even share. So we export 1 million bags, but we also sell internally within the country about 1 million bags. We have been with feet on the ground for a long time. The first time that Volcafe entered in Brazil was in 1954. We can proudly say that we work with almost all of the producing regions in the country. In the last slide, we told you that about 17% of the total exports of Brazil were either sustainable, responsible, or with any sort of seal or program. In our case, that share is about 25%. We share the responsibility with 194 persons on the ground. I happen to be the GM of the country, and it's a great responsibility, but also a great pleasure to work with my Brazilian colleagues. We're one of the top 5 merchants. We're not the biggest. Our aim has never been about being the biggest, but doing what we do with passion and trying to do what we do properly. Still, we have about 3% of the total export share of the country. And we have about 13 offices that I'm going to show you about in the next slide. So this is the Brazilian geography and country. I'm sorry, I apologize. It's a little bit too small for you guys to see, but I'm going to try to do my best. So the state which is up on the screen, the furthest, is Bahia. There we have the port of Salvador. And we have offices mainly in Vitória da Conquista. Those are sourcing offices, and we also have a partnership with a manufacturing entity that helps us to prepare the coffees for export from that state. If we go down, we enter into Minas Gerais, which is what I would call the biggest, not just state producing country in Brazil, but also in the world. I don't think you have such a concentration of coffee anywhere similar in the world. This is a prime example of what Brazil can do. So we have offices in Patrocinio, where we source coffees. We have a team there. That is where Marcelo, who is now with us on the screen, is based. He's based in Patrocinio. We have a partnership for origination of coffees in Araguari. That's the Cerrado Brasileiro. We have a milling office and a commercial office in Caratinga, in Manuaçu, in San Sebastián de Paraíso. We have alliances where we source our coffees. And of course, where Gustavo, who heads our agronomic team, and you will get to meet him a little bit later on, Virginia, who used to be denominated the capital of coffee and the capital of coffee in Minas Gerais. We have an office and we have a mill there. We have a sourcing infrastructure as well. I'm just going to move a little bit up north to the east to the department of Espírito Santo. Espírito Santo is a very interesting department because it produces both Robusta, which in Brazil is called Conilon, and also Arabicas. And it has beautiful Arabicas of prime washed qualities as well as other type of grades. We will get to see that more clearly with my colleagues, especially Gustavo and Gabriel later on. So we have industrial offices in Linares up north and Colatina. That's again in Espírito Santo. There is a buying partnership that we have in Irupi. And then of course the Port of Vitoria, where a lot of coffee, particularly from that state, gets shipped, mainly Conilons. Then a little bit to the south, you have Rio de Janeiro. In the past, it used to be a coffee producing more important department or state. It is not any longer the case, but still it has some tradition and of course it has some infrastructure. You have the Port of Rio, which is Sepetiba. Then I start moving more into the Sao Paolo state, where I am based now in Sao Paulo. I'm talking to you from Sao Paulo, where my home is. I happen to go to Santos almost every day in a normal routine when we are not in quarantine. That's where our head office is, and that's basically where Gabriel, who will talk to you a little bit later on, is located. So in Santos, we have our main office. We buy coffees, we screen coffees, we grade qualities, and we do all the process relative to make sure that everything goes from the origination to the export point. So then beyond, of course, our main operations, we have sourcing stations in Franca, Espírito Santo de Pinhal in Sao Paulo, as well as in Leme. And then, of course, we have the state of Paraná, where Londrina, you can see on the map. You cannot read it, but you can see it. That's an alliance where we have a rep office to source coffees from there. And then, of course, you have the port of Paranaguá. I'm sorry, guys, that I have taken you so quickly to the map of Brazil, but I guess you could see that we have an infrastructure everywhere, and that dealing today with coffees is not just originating coffees. You have to develop relationships everywhere you go. So all this being said, I'm just going to give the word to my colleague Marcelo.
Thank you, Nicolas, and hello, everybody. So it's a pleasure to have you guys here in this webinar. So I'm going to cover some basics of Brazilian production and field facts, and then afterwards we can come back and go deeper in any subject you want to see. So only to give a good picture of Brazil. So nowadays we have 1.9 million hectares of coffee under production. It's and we have this 1.9 million hectares under production and a bit more being renovated or being new areas. So the total area with coffee in Brazil should be about 2.2 million hectares. We have 320,000 coffee growers, of which 86% is small growers. It means we consider small below 20 hectares. And as you can see, despite all the talks we have in Brazil and what presents Brazil as a big plantations and only huge farms is not the reality. Here we have tons of small growers as well, and they are responsible for a big part of the production. And it's not only big plantations. And average production based on official data, it's somewhere between 58, 57 million bags, average on cycle, off cycle. This year we are on cycle, so it's a bit higher than that. Productivity is 30 bags per hectare. It varies a little bit on versus on on versus off cycle as well, but in average, considering the last coffee cycle is about 30 bags per hectare. As Nicolas said, we produce Arabica and Robusta, washed and naturals. If we were a country in separate, the washing production should be, Brazil should be the second largest producer of milds or wash, whatever. So it's everything. The numbers are big because it's a lot of people involved in coffee, and area is huge. And we have the chain generates 2 million direct jobs directly involved with coffee, plus 6 million jobs indirectly. So the total, the chain generates about 8 million jobs. We have coffee in 15 states and 1,900 towns around the coffee belt. You see in the next, on the next slide. So here you see how the coffee is spread in Brazil. So we have to remember that the coffee arrived in Brazil up north. If you see the north mark, I guess 26. So the coffee came in Brazil from French Guiana and get into this Pará stage, the one that looks like a shirt. And the coffee get in, went to the northern states where it's no longer exists, only few spots, as you can see, came back to Rio de Janeiro.
Marcelo, I think we're having a little trouble hearing you. If one of the other team members can jump in from Brazil to explain a little bit more about the slide, or should we advance?
Okay, I'm here. I'm back.
Oh, okay, good.
Sorry.
Technology happens.
Yes, we are on the 10G now, so it's a bit advanced for you guys. So sorry. Don't worry. So as I was saying, so in Brazil, in this map, you can show all the diversity, and we have different microclimates. We have very well-known regions of specialty coffee, like Serra do Caparaó, Chapada Diamantina, Mantiqueira de Minas, Cerrado, which also has this denomination of origin. So in Brazil, you have one-stop solution for everything. You can find commercial grade Robustas, super high-end specialty coffees as you wish. The next. So I put this mosaic here only to illustrate how diverse and how interesting Brazil is. And you have large plantation, small farmers, different processing methods, different fermentation methods, different drying methods. So here you can see how rich and interesting Brazil can be. And it just needs to get into that and discover all the treasuries Brazil can offer in terms of specialty coffee. And even if you don't want specialty coffee, but you want a premium coffee, Brazil can offer in a very good way. So in this mosaic, you can see all the faces that Brazil can have. So mountains region, flat lands, and so on. Next.
Great. So about our quality control, we in the head office of Volcafe, we are 4 team graders who works with this. You can see the lab, very well equipped. In each of our buying stations, there is similar quality control with all equipped laboratories for testing the coffees that we are about to buy. And any of the coffees bought in Brazil, they all come to Santos for the quality to take a deep control on it. So we have multiple evaluations on each coffee we buy from actually the moment that we buy the coffee until the coffee is shipped. We've been through that coffee and copied that about 6 or 7 times. Here in the Santos office, we do the research and development of specialty coffee blends for each of our clients. Any specific challenge that we accept from our very demanding clients, we are very happy to achieve the quality that this guy from all over the world can find here in Brazil. Yes, that's more or less what we do here in the quality control.
So basically, coffee purchasing, coffee trading has been the same for many and many years. The different actors from the chain always had very well clear the roles that they have to play to have the success between the production until the cup of coffee at home or at the coffee shop. So basically, since 2015, we just changed it a bit with a program that nowadays we call Volcafe Way. Nowadays, I mean, since 2015. So basically it goes through, it's not only purchasing coffee with the features that the farmers just deliver to us. It's try to understand a bit better, to get in the gate of the farm and try to give to help with our knowledge, whatever the farms need to be supported in all the pillars to be to reach actually the sustainable profitability, because it's not only to purchase with a good price, to teach farmers how to provide a sustainable coffee, speaking about the social and environmental aspect. But we have today 10 technicians that visit daily, one or more than one farm per day, of almost 600 farmers that we support in Arabica, and not speaking about Robustas, but we provide technical support basically to teach farmers to be profitable. So we basically try to understand the usage of the inputs, the resources, and we put all together. We just prepare budgets and cash flow. And so after that, after the farmers realize that they are being profitable or not, because if not, we just try to adjust some specific features within the farm. And exactly right after that, we try to speak about sustainability. So basically we have 3 KPIs, 3 main pillars, that it's to increase the productivity, to try to help they to be more efficient, to have more efficiency at the use of the resources, and as well as try to improve the percentage of high quality coffee. So the mix of everything we expect to make farmers more profitable. So basically we work in 8 regions in Brazil, and we are already covering 67,000 hectares.
Back again, sorry. Rob, please come back 1 slide. Okay, so just to finalize, we during the past years, since we developed this, we decided to move towards direct relationship with farmers. we decided to invest in our own buying warehouses, buying offices in countryside, and we are helping and working with farmers to strive in their business. So we do support many different sustainable schemes. We have 3 or 4 groups of rainforests and woods. We are founding different sustainability initiatives. We do promote best commercial practices. We offer farmers, those farmers that are aligned with us in our programs, relationship programs and Volcafe Way. We offer them different commercial tools. So all in that, we want to make the farmer to keep in the business. That's why we go to the field, teach them how to, not teach them how to handle the hand, because they teach us how to make it. But what we try to do, we share experience among them. We visit one farm.
Did we lose Marcelo?
It seems that he fell out.
Okay. Y'all are all sitting so still, I couldn't tell if it was me.
No, but you know, in his honor, the kid that you have on the screen is his son.
Oh.
Sorry.
We lose Marcelo on the screen, but we have his son on the field.
Yeah. Sorry, it's the connection here is not stable. So just to finalize, and invite you guys to know more. Brazil is open anytime you want to visit and want to discuss. We have condition to tour you for different regions, and please come and let's go to the open questions. Then we can discuss a bit more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So,
Thank you.
Real quick, a reminder, because I forgot to mention it, there is a Q&A function at the bottom if you have a question. Sometimes we incorporate those into the discussion. Sometimes we add them to the end of the program. So make sure you keep note of that. And I think Rob's about to put our first poll up. And Jay, I think you had a question after that.
Okay, you want to do the poll first, or you want me to ask? Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, get into it.
All right, so coffee production in Brazil is frequently seen as all mechanically harvested and using heated dryers, not the most specialized of origins. Can you elaborate on that equipment and talk about what production looks like for smaller?
Yes, of course. Thanks for this question. Yeah, this one misunderstanding that we have to clarify, because, you know, mechanically doesn't mean less care. Farmers and all the agri sector, they master the usage of different machineries. So in any case, because in Brazil we have this very favorable land to make the mechanization, and also this the production cycle, the way the tree behaves. We have 1 or 2 very uniform flowering. We have uniform maturation. Our harvesting window is very short, so we have to rush and make it at once, and otherwise we lose the time, and then the coffee can fall on the ground and spoil the quality. So doing that, we can separate the ripe and unripe and overripe on another machine, the washing set. So all the mechanization is a need in Brazil, because we need extensive land, and even for small growers, if they are not full mechanized, they are partially mechanized. Even those guys that are on the hill, they need to have somehow mechanization to make their day-to-day operation, not only the harvesting. So the farmers are also, they can make selective harvesting by harvesting machines. So they can, I will show a picture later on. And when the farmers take part of the stickers in the harvesting machine, and then they go first on the top of the tree, and then they come back on the middle of the tree, and so on. So it's a very adaptive process. So we cannot afford to have one picker going only for the ripe cherries. That's a reality. And again, it doesn't mean that lower quality or similar thing.
So so that's very interesting, Marcelo. You know, getting the cherry off of the tree is one thing, but getting it to our offices, to our factories and mills is another. And I know that every origin seems to have its own way of acquiring coffee from farmers. I know in Kenya, obviously, most coffee is bought on the auction. In Honduras, I know our team is bucking the trend by going direct to farmers, but in general, Honduras is more of an intermediary country. How are things done in Brazil? How are you working with farmers directly?
Yeah, we try to establish direct relationship as much as we can, because is that the way we get the right quality and avoid some prior blendings. So the idea to go directly to the farm is to have access to the best quality. But still, the role of brokers is very important. The role of cooperatives is very important. And the role of comerciantes or intermediaries is also very important, because imagine that we have 320,000 coffee growers in Brazil, and we have a small commercial team. And we need liquidity, we need capillarity to access as much coffee as we can. And we cannot do that without these intermediaries. But of course, we have our very close group of farmers, like Volcafe cluster, where we put all these closer farmers and we start to create this direct relationship, and it's organically growing as we get to know each other, and we propose new things. We can offer them long-term contracts 3 years ahead. So this kind of commercial relationship is flourishing as soon as we get the direct access to the farmer.
Very cool. One of the things I was really interested in that you talked about in the PowerPoint was terroir and the idea that Brazil is kind of a one-stop shop for coffees. So to tie that back into genuine origin, I would love to talk a little bit about how Salmo came about. It's a really popular coffee for us, and I would also love to hear a little bit about how terroir factors in what kind of differences you see in coffees. I know that's a big question, and it's going to take a few people, but let's get into it.
Well, let me start then. I'm not sure if everybody knows the history of the Salmo. The Salmo was created back in the 2000s, in the early 2000s. It was Cerrado, Mogiana, and south of Minas coffee. And by the time we look to unite the best flavors of each regions, the sweet and softness of Cerrado, the body from Mogiana, and the acidity from south of Minas. More recently, we accepted the challenge to do the Salmo Plus for genuine origin. So, and we decided to make it very more selected, and with only producers that we have a close relationship with. And then it started with basically coffee from Cerrado region, and coffee in
Gabriel.
Yes, Marcelo. So then we started to produce the Salmo blend with Cerrado coffee, and mostly, actually, not always, will be from Cerrado only, because that's our challenge, to keep the consistency of the blend. But in Brazil, it's a big country with many producers doing so many nice coffees. We can, the consistency is our challenge, and we try to do our best. And I'm not sure if I answered your question.
No, that was great.
I was interrupted in a minute. Sorry.
Marcelo, did you want to add something?
No, that's fine. I wanted to tell Gabriel that there was a huge noise behind him, and then I dropped. It was out of the system.
No worries. No, that's, I think we've been really fortunate to have Salmo in our lineup, and it's it's so popular and versatile. And it's like, I just tell people every year, I'm like, it's some kind of variation of a peanut butter cup. Just trust that. It changes a little bit, but yeah, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Rob, I think you had a question, or no, Jay.
What are some of the hurdles that you've run into with Volcafe Way and Genuine Origin, and how have you dealt with those hurdles?
Oh, actually, in general lines, Brazilian farmers, they are very aware about almost everything that involves coffee farming, right? They are not fully in full knowledge of all the process. That always something that we can add, technically speaking, in special at the coffee farming as a business, right? So you have a lot of people reaching farmers, like input sellers. You have particular private technical assistance also. So the blend of everything, it's very challenging. So how to, if the farmers are making good profit, how to try to make them better in sustainable practices, in improving quality or improving productivity. So it's not easy to convince farmers, to show farmers that they could do even better, because they are doing it for 30, for 50 years, for 70 years, and it's working fine.
So during the presentation, Gabriel, you mentioned having to cup every coffee that goes to export 6 or 7 times. And you also mentioned that you're exporting, what is it, over 1 million bags. So I just want to know what goes into your day. I'm looking behind you, and I know that's all coffee stacked up behind you. So I just want to hear a little bit about the day in the life of QC.
Well, here in Brazil, it's quite busy, especially in a crop like this one. Very huge crop, excellent quality, by the way. So salmo for this crop will be amazing. So it's not easy here. We would cup 100, 150 samples per day.
Wow.
And we do it like mostly with 10 cups each, so 1,500 cups a day. But it's very cool, because you're doing what you like, so it's nice to have a busy year like this one. It's good.
Okay. But cupping 1,000 cups. I mean, it's not just the time that it takes to slurp 1,000 cups of coffee, and you have to record all that information and then kind of understand where it's going, who it's for, grade it, and and so you're a team of 4 in your lab, or
we are integrated with the buying team here. So
okay.
we are 2 guys from quality control, and plus 3 other guys from buying and checking the quality of the coffee purchased.
Mm-hmm.
And we together, we do the cupping. We also have 2 ladies that helps us with the roasting. It's not a short team, but the quality guys needs to cup every coffee that we do every day. So yeah, but it's a good team.
That's amazing.
I'm seeing a question from our audience. It comes from David. And David is asking us whether we are concerned about the market, there should be an overflow of coffees out there if the coffees are basically overflowing the market, and what's going to happen with prices. So I'm going to try to address that question, and if I fail, I'm sure my colleagues can help me out. But just to give a little bit of background, you know, right now, and particularly right now that we're in the middle of a harvest, a lot of the price setting is about Brazil, particularly at this moment of the year where a country like Brazil is so active, because a lot of the Central American harvests are later in the year, and they will become substantially more busy later. Now it's a bit about Colombia and a lot about Brazil. And for amazing as it seems, with a country that produces so efficiently so much coffee, if you look at the global supply and demand of all the different grades, especially if you take a picture not just of one season, but of 2 seasons, because especially countries like Brazil, we have a big crop this year, and next year is going to be a little bit smaller of the crop. Every time it's getting bigger, but you have to average down both crops to really make proper sense. So what I'm going to say is that for amazing as it seems, the market seeks equilibrium, right? Yes, there is a lot of volume, but yes, fortunately, and even despite pandemics, there are a lot of consumers out there. And if you look all the numbers together, we are not so much in excess. So that's the reason I was saying, if Brazil wouldn't be producing about 60 to 70 million bags on the top cycle, I wouldn't even know what would be about the total market. So it seeks equilibrium. The second thing which is interesting about Brazil is that, as Marcelo and Gustavo were explaining, a lot of the farmers are quite sophisticated, not only the bigger ones, but also the smaller ones. And they have market access tools to sell their coffees, not just on the spot, but also on the forward crops. So we have producers of salmo coffees that have sold their coffee to us already for the next 3 years. Coffees that are not even in the project yet, but already they have been marketed. So because of faithful consumers and buyers of the products like you guys, the great teamwork of our colleagues in the US and here in Brazil, we're able to put all the mechanics of the market together. So we bring you guys and the producers together in a kind of a direct relationship, so they can plan substantially way ahead of time to basically address pricing concerns, exchange rate concerns. At the beginning of this year, we were with the Brazilian real trading around between 4 and 5. Now we are trading between 5 and 6. It's a little bit too technical, but just a long explanation to tell you that fortunately the market has its ways to seek equilibrium. So here we are trying to find that equilibrium and then transfer the best out of those qualities from the Volcafe way farmers with our collective work, sorting out the qualities and then getting that coffee to you on time for getting satisfaction as it should be the case.
We see a lot of terms for processing in Brazil. Can you explain more fully washed, semi-washed, pulp natural, and any experimental processes that you're trying out?
Cool. Yeah, so the fully washed is when the coffee is depulped and go to tank fermentation. So here in Brazil, it's increasing, but it's not the big process that we do. Most commons are the natural coffees and also the semi-washed and pulped natural. semi-washed and pulped natural. Sometimes it's quite similar process. And it is a way in between the natural and the fully washed. When you pulp the coffee and you put it to dry, not passing through the tank fermentation. About the different ways of processing this new fermentation anaerobic, I would like to call Marcelo to help us. He's more in the field side, and he knows what's going on with this new generation of processing coffee in Brazil. Hello, Marcelo.
So yes, this the fermentation process, we are seeing a lot of that, and there is also very interesting things going on the artificial flavorization, if we can call that way. So people are fermenting coffee with orange, with grapes, and cinnamon. So it's something that we see, but we do not see it as a good way because it's artificial flavor. But yes, we see very interesting experiences going on, and Brazilian farmers are very dynamic. Wherever they feel that there is a market opportunity, they go there and test and do and make it happen. So on that mosaic of pictures I share with you guys, I put one of the pictures that the guy. So yes, it's very common and it's becoming popular, and some buyers is interested to see this overly fermented coffee with some alcoholic notes. It's a kind of a fashion now, so we don't know where it's going to end, but it's interesting to see how creative and how Brazilian farmers are so active to deliver what the market don't even know what they want. So they go there and test and make and so on.
And let me just say an interesting cupping session that we had here last week. Marcelo sent over this coffee and just said, cup the coffee and tell me what you think about it. And from the roasting machine, we saw this smell. We felt this smell of pepper. And wow, this is amazing coffee, very interesting, very different. And which coffee is this, Marcelo, with so much red pepper flavor and taste? And he said the coffee was fermented together with orange.
Wow.
But it was a nice coffee.
Yeah, and this is something that people are trying to go to quality contests. It's a very controversial subject, but there are a lot going on. And you see farmers resting their coffees on huge barrels under the trees and let on the middle of the forest for 3 days and so on. You see crazy things going on.
Well, on that note, we are running short on time, and just to kind of button everything up, what should we expect in the next year? What are y'all excited about? And like 30 seconds to spend on Josh's question about what happens if a major drought hits and wipes out coffee. So if you can address that in like 2 minutes.
Correct. So I just saw the question. Yeah, let's say some very hard drought with Brazil again, but the salmon supply is not in risk. Of course, we may see some supply chain, and we can deliver that anyway. That's one of the advantages to have a very strong and connected supplier with the roots of the business, because we are there, we know where it's producing. We have forward contracts with many top quality farmers, So this is not a worry. We may face some troubles yet in specific regions, but Gabriel, our master quality, he knows how to handle and he knows how to adjust that. And what we are expecting for the next year, we're expecting to implement our Volcafe Way program fully and definitely start to make an impact on farmers' lives more deeply.
Awesome. I know that's a big part of what we get excited about. It's a big part of what our customers get excited about. Yes, we want delicious coffees, but we also want to know what the impact that we have by buying these coffees does. So I'm sorry we didn't get to that last question about organic coffees, but if you have more questions, please feel free to reach out to Jay, Cindy, or myself. Our contact info is on the website, on the Genuine Origin website under Contact Us. Massive, massive thanks to all of you in the audience for joining us and for the great questions. And huge thanks to our panel. We really appreciate your time. We know it's not easy to take all this time away and prepare all this info, but it's very, very valuable to us. You'll see Rob just put up the next survey. And please stay tuned for more of these events. We are working on a webinar for our Ethiopia team next month. So like I said, stay on our social media, stay on our mailing list. That's how you're going to be the first to know about that. Stay on the Afloat page of the Genuine Origin site. That's how you know about upcoming coffees. And we will all be in touch. Can't wait to see what's next and keep drinking that Salmo.
So just one point, so
please.
Whatever unanswered question you guys may have, just forward to us and we are pleased to answer. So
I can vouch for Marcelo being very responsive. He always answers me in WhatsApp. So yeah, we are here to help you. We are here to help you find the right coffees. And the cool thing too, we've now got a Volcafe Way page on the site. If you want to check out those coffees, we've got a women producers page on the site. There is an organic section if that's something you're looking for. There's a few coffees on there and another couple on the way. But again, thank you so much, and we're all here if you need us. Have a wonderful day. Oh, Nicholas, yes. I saw that finger.
Just one exciting fact.
Yes, please.
The Salmo, which we are harvesting, that we are starting to process this season, is one of the best yielding and flavor Salmos coming out of Cerrado and Minas. So you should be really excited to see it next, because Gabriel may tell me if I am wrong, but I think this is one of the nicest that I have tested over the last 4 years being here.
You're completely right. Yes.
That is excellent news, and I am very happy to hear it. So again, thank you all. Have a wonderful day. Go drink some coffee. Bye.
Bye, Brazil team.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.